Gentlemen, we have called you together to inform you that we are going to overthrow the United States government.
I guess the skies are too blue for them in Maryland. We need to get a little rain.
To all the men out there, I want you to close your eyes. Imagine you have a daughter. Imagine she is dating a guy just like you. Did you smile? No? Then change.
Why is it that if the government finds diamonds or oil in your backyard, it's government property? But if they find drugs, it's yours? Messed up.
We know there's objects up to like 1,200 tons, but the fact that they moved them 1,000 miles, and we have examples as the obelisk that's sitting in this mountainous quarry, still in the ground. It's like 1,200 tons of granite. And you're expected to believe that they somehow are going to lift this thing up out of a quarry over these big hills and mountains and put it on a little ship, this tiny little space. I'm like, you're absolutely delusional if you think this was a simple task that could be achieved with primitive methods.
What's your favorite quote?
What you're not changing, you're choosing.
You're not changing, you're choosing.
You got something
That's kind
you complaining about and you're not changing it. Could be your relationships, your body, your health, your job. You're choosing it.
We are at the precipice of unstoppable great change. And I think it's going to hit us like a fucking tsunami. The whole world is going to shift in a really wild way. I think there's going to be no privacy. Zero privacy in a few decades. I think mind reading is coming. All of these ridiculous Black Mirror scenarios will come to light. And I think we're going to be dealing with a reality that as alien to us as taking Australopithecus and bringing them into 2023.
In 1946, in Germany and Poland, there were people who said, "We didn't know." Today, they can't say we didn't know. They can only say, "We didn't care."
Why do you never see baby pigeons? Here are the best random shower thoughts of all time. If a deaf person has to go to court, is it still called a hearing? Why do we park in a driveway and drive on the parkway? The fork you use in a restaurant has probably been in thousands of other people's mouths. Is a hot dog a sandwich or a taco? Why do our noses run but our feet smell? Why is it called a building if it's already built? If Cinderella's shoe fit perfectly, why did it fall off? Why do we call them apartments if they're all stuck together? Why is the pizza box square when the pizza is round and the slices are triangles? If you describe something as indescribable, haven't you already described it? If we can't drink and drive, why do bars have parking lots? If you work at a tea factory, do you get coffee breaks? Why is the time of day with the slowest traffic called rush hour? If you get out of the shower clean, how does your towel get dirty? If you tell someone to be a leader and not a follower, aren't they following your advice? Why is it called shipping when it goes by truck and cargo when it goes by ship? How does a sponge hold water when it's full of holes? Do dogs think we're their pets since we feed them and clean up after them? If you clean a vacuum cleaner, aren't you the vacuum cleaner? If Apple made a car, would it still have windows? If you're not supposed to eat at night, why is there a light in the fridge? Do stairs go up or down? If a fly loses its wings, is it now called a walk? Why does quicksand work so slowly? Why do we call it a hamburger when it's made of beef? If the early bird gets the worm, why do good things come to those who wait? If the number 2 pencil is the most popular, why is it still number 2? Do vegetarians eat animal crackers? How do you throw away a garbage can? Why does sour cream have an expiration date? If you drop soap on the floor, is the soap dirty or is the floor clean? Why do we call it after dark when it's really after light? Answer this, can you daydream at night?
Let them lie to you, ghost you, betray you, and run their mouths behind your back. The only way to see someone's true colors is by giving them all the freedom in the world to be exactly who they want to be. You can't force a cheater to be loyal. You can't twist a bad friend into being a good one. And you sure as hell can't make a liar suddenly find their moral compass.
Evil people are a small minority, but they are responsible for the majority of deep trauma and pain. It only takes one evil person to destroy a marriage, a family. It takes one evil person to destroy a church. And foolish people, it's accidental. Evil people, it's intentional. They live by the power of the demonic, and as a result, they're dangerous. Because of that, you can't have a personal relationship or even a pastoral relationship because they won't honor the boundaries. Instead, you need to have a professional relationship. They need to be stopped before they destroy everyone and everything.
Can you believe that a single tree can feed an entire family by giving them food, shelter, and water? The baobab tree is not just a tree, but one of the best miracles of God found mostly in Africa. This has a lifespan of 5,000 years, and as long as this tree stands, a family doesn't have to worry for food, water, and other things. People can eat its leaves and fruits, use its seeds to make oil, and even turn its bark into cloth. Inside its hard shells, there is a dry fruit that tastes sweet and sour, which is full of nutrients. One of the best things about this tree is that it stores water, which is very important in dry places like Africa. During the rainy seasons, the tree stores enough water for a family to use later. The trunk is so big that people can even live inside it, and for many people, the baobab tree is more than just a tree. It is a lifesaver.
Palla tagliata, messa fuori, c'è Pirlo, Pirlo, ancora Pirlo di tetto, tiro!
Your eyes can tell whether you have parasite infestation in your body or not. So if you look at the white part of your eyes, yeah, so the lower part and the upper part you need to see. When you look at the lower part and you see blood vessels like shown in this picture, then you have parasite infestation in the gut area, in the abdominal cavity area. Yeah, if you have the web-like structure, the blood vessels are visible like in the picture in the upper part of the white area of your eyes, then there is high probability that you have parasite infestation in the brain area. So these are the signs, and if you see these signs, then you need to go for a deep dive parasite detox, parasite cleansing, and you will see many diseases vanishing from your body.
Like, they used to have leaded gas. Do you know that? Like, gas used to have lead in it. And the reason why it had lead in it is like engines would knock. So they added lead to gasoline. And they poisoned the whole world. That was in the air, everywhere. And everyone was getting lead poisoning. Do you know that the IQ levels of people who were born between a specific time when they were using leaded gas are lower than people who weren't fucking lead poisoned? That's why you have unleaded gas.
A hidden form of emotional abuse is when a family, a person, or an entire system acts like nothing happened after they've hurt you. You try to speak up and suddenly you're the problem. You need to let it go, or you're remembering it wrong. This isn't just gaslighting. This is erasing reality to keep you quiet. But ignoring what happened doesn't make it disappear. It just forces you to carry the pain all alone. You're not too sensitive. Your feelings are real, and you deserve to be heard.
God is not the maker and architect of the universe, but the actor of it, and therefore is playing all the parts at once. A person is a mask. From the Latin word persona, the mask worn by the actors in Greco-Roman drama. You. And you don't know who you are. You can't see yourself. And as I pointed out, you don't know how you grow your body, how you make your nervous system work, how you manage to emerge in this environment of nature. So this unknown you, the you that is not you, the you that is not the ego, this is God.
Quinky dinky doodle, I'm sure, guys. Just a quinky dinky doodle.
It's crazy that you're 72. Like, you look like, I don't know, you look like you're 36 or something.
If you eat 1 meal a day and fast 3 days out of a month, he said you'll hardly ever get sick. He said, but if you don't want to ever get sick, just eat one meal and then nothing the next day and then eat one meal every other day. At the most, you may get sick once every 2 or 3 years. But if you want to take it to another level, like the ancient patriarchs that lived to be 1,000 years of age, did you know that before Noah, all the way from Adam to Noah, the average life expectancy for man was 912 years of age? Regular years the way we count them. Adam was 930 when he died. The oldest man in the scriptures named Methuselah, 969. How'd you live to be almost 1,000? He ate one meal, fasted 3 days, and then ate another meal. If you eat like that, you will never get sick. Your body will never have enough toxins to even make you sick.
They're finding pyramids that are older than the Egyptian pyramids and larger. There's pyramids all over China. China has been closed down, but they've kept quiet about that. They won't even let people, tourists, or near them, keep them away. Think there's some really huge pyramids they photographed with aerial photography and satellites in Antarctica. Huge. So pyramids have been with us for thousands and thousands of years. The Egyptian pyramid, they figure, is only 4,000 or 5,000 years old. That's not very old compared to some of the pyramids that they've radiocarbon dated. And we're just Johnny-come-lately on this planet, you know, and we think we're number one. We're not. There were civilizations hundreds of thousands of years ago that have wiped each other out. There seems to be a cyclical program that the Earth goes through. It destroys everything, whether it's by flood or by asteroids hitting us and causing a nuclear winter where everything freezes and you go through a long period of glaciation, and then life somehow comes back again. We're just the latest chapter in a very old saga of what happens on this planet.
So is everyone else's friend group talking about buying some land and having a homestead together where everyone has grows separate crops, we can all help each other out and have a supportive community because our society that we live in feels like it's crumbling beneath our feet? Is everyone else's friend group talking about that, or is it just me?
In Denisova Cave, they find a single pinky bone from a little finger. They do the DNA testing on it, and what they discover is this isn't a Neanderthal. This isn't an anatomically modern human being. This is another human species who they named the Denisovans. It's another example of a missing chapter in the human story that is beginning to be pieced together. It's obvious now that we were not alone, that there were multiple other human species who were human enough to interbreed with us and leave DNA.
The city under the ice. One of the most compelling pieces of evidence for a lost civilization in Antarctica comes from satellite imagery that revealed what appeared to be a complex network of structures beneath the ice. These structures, including dome-shaped buildings, walls, and intricate carvings, suggest the existence of a city frozen in time. Researchers believe this city could be thousands of years old, potentially predating known ancient cultures like those in Egypt or Mesopotamia.
This is pretty cool. This is mercury. It's pretty toxic, but it's magnetic. But what it can do is going to blow your mind. It has similar properties to water in terms of interactions with vibrations. That is because it's a liquid, but it is a liquid metal, which makes it very interesting. When you push a current through it, it starts to spin. Now, in electrical systems, if we put power into something, we can make it do stuff. If we reverse the process, we can generate electricity. Now, I posted a video a while back about Plasma Channel taking a drone with a piece of metal up into the air and connecting it to the ground with a metal wire. He powered a Corona motor with this. That's because there's a ton of voltage up in the sky. So I got an idea. We plug one of these balls into a pole in the sky like an outlet. And we put some mercury in that ball and spin it, creating a vortex, pulling electricity into the ground. It's not going to make a lot of power, so I googled how to double that, and they showed me this resonator that can double it. So once we grab it, I'm going to put this right under it, and I made it this design because I googled how energy flows the best, and that's what it showed me. but I want to share this. So I Googled how to send it, and it showed me this antenna. So I put it on top of the design, and that's finally what I came up with. We could even share it with like a greenhouse to grow crops in the winter. Or we could share it with like anybody. We just have to make our cities look more like that, kind of. I'm about to file a patent, so no one can steal this idea.
China is facing a new health crisis, a new disease outbreak.
Let me tell you something. 48 years of study, I'm going to give you a secret. Nothing in this world is what you think it is. Government does not work the way you think it does. Religion is a corporation, especially in the Western world. All religions operate under maritime admiralty law. Maritime admiralty is the law of water. There are only two things on the earth, land and water. So there are two kinds of law, the law of the land and the law of water. The law of the land is the custom of the people who live on a particular piece of land. So the law of the land is different in every country.
Okay, got it.
But there is also a far more important law on the earth. It's called the law of the water. And that law is referred to in courts as maritime admiralty.
What are some of those laws that we're not aware of?
Oh, my goodness. When you walk into a courtroom, why do you go to court? You play basketball on a court. You play tennis on a court.
Right.
Yeah, how do you play tennis on a court? You play with a racket. Come on. And so the judge walks out, he rules from the bench. Right? Look it up in a Latin dictionary. The word bench is a bank in Latin. And so the judge is ruling for the bank. That's why he wears a black robe, because the black robe represents the planet Saturn, the god of banking and law, who in the ancient world was called Lord of the Rings.
Wow.
Well, he is Lord of the Rings.
Right, that's right.
And so women were told in the ancient world to listen to their god, so they would wear an ear ring. Men were to get married before their god, so they wear a wedding ring, because Saturn was Lord of the Rings.
Christian theology in a nutshell. God sacrificed God to God in order to save God's creation from God. God prayed to God for help, but God did not help God, and God killed God with help from humans. And that God is a father of himself and a son of himself at the same time. He is also eternal, but his birthday is celebrated on 25th of December or January 7th, depending on the sect. And he is also the seed of Abraham, who is human. He also sent himself on earth in community and committed and living by forcing people to commit a sin of murder against him, because it was the only way for him to forgive humans for a much lesser sin of this one woman who lived 6,000 years ago.
The first study of finding SARS-CoV-2 outside of China was an Australian guy named Leon Cayley, if anybody looks it up. So he does this, and he gets these little pictures. And coronavirus supposedly has spike proteins. So he didn't find the spike proteins. So what he did was he added trypsin, which digests away the outer coating. And then he said, and that allowed us to see the spike protein.
Oh my gosh.
You take a piece of wood and you say, that looks like a star. You say, no, it doesn't. It just looks like a circle. And then you get a carpenter and he cuts out a star and you say, you see, it looked like a star. I know, because you cut it out. You digested the outside so you see the spikes. That was the premier paper for SARS-CoV-2 outside of China.
That, Tucker, is treason. That 9/11 did not happen because a group of hijackers got control of some planes. First of all, I have confirmed that two of the hijackers that were on one of the planes in New York were working for the CIA. They were on the CIA payroll. And that was confirmed to me by someone in writing from one of our agencies, and I have that letter. So two of the people involved were actually working for the CIA in one of the planes. I know that. And they lost control of them. And there were reprimands against those agency people after the fact. Second, I know the intelligence. They tried 3 times to transfer the information about information that could have prevented 9/11. That's fact.
To the Justice Department.
And I have the name of the person that at the Justice Department they contacted, and she was told to cancel the meetings. The case. So I sat in the front row and I said, Lee, why did you not allow me to testify? And he said to me, well, Congressman, you know, we had a lot of people that wanted to testify. Now I'm the representative of all the firefighters in the country. I'm the point person for the firefighters.
Yes.
I'm a firefighter and a fire chief. I'd been at the Trade Center in 93. I'd been there in 9/11, and they would not let me testify because they didn't want to hear what I had to say.
What would you have said?
I would have said that we caused this.
What do you mean? We?
With the intelligence, I have the evidence that we could have stopped this. Not me. Louis Freeh said that. Based upon what I came out with, Louis Freeh's op-ed in the Wall Street Journal, which I can give you a copy of, said the 9/11 Commission was an incomplete investigation. And he also went on Good Morning America and said the same thing.
Wonder, and I have no idea what happened in 9/11, but it's very clear that there's a lot of lying around it, was the collapse of Building 7. And all the wackos would be like, Building 7, Building 7. I'd be like, shut up, wackos. And then if you just sort of look at it, you're like, well, that is very weird, actually. No plane hit that building. And does this happen a lot when buildings catch fire? Right, okay.
Besides being a firefighter, I work for the INA, largest insurance company in North America. I was responsible for training their fire protection arson people for 18 years. That doesn't happen. Only high-rise buildings in the world that have ever come down from an airplane hitting them. And those buildings, I read the report from the architect who designed them. They were designed to withstand an airplane hitting the building and standing tall.
And especially Building 7, which had no plane hit it. Right.
No plane hit it. And the building just, you can see it when you watch it on TV, it just implodes straight down. And what really got me again was Oriol Palmer, the battalion chief, arising on the...
Well, tell us who he was. What is...
Okay, Oriol Palmer was one of the most inspirational battalion chiefs in New York.
FDNY.
FDNY, who immediately, in very good shape, had a family, a couple of kids, went into the building as soon as they got on the scene, took the elevator up to the 40th floor, got off the elevator, and you could hear him on the comm system say, I'm here, 40th floor, we're going to start walking up the stairwells. Every 5 floors, he radios back to communication. I'm on the 50th floor. Everything's okay. We're on floor 60. Everything's okay. He's going up. Every so many floors, he gives a report. He reaches the 78th floor, the floor of impact. He comes out of the stair tower, and as clear as you listening to me here, and I know I get passionate, and I apologize to your listeners for that. He says, we're on floor 78, the floor of impact. We've got 2 fires, and we can handle them. 1 minute later, the whole building collapses. That's not normal. That is not acceptable. That is not what happened.
And this is on tape?
It's on tape. One more fact. Tony Shaffer got approval from his commanding general after this whole thing happened to write his memoirs. His memoirs are called Dark Heart. So he wrote the book. He had a publisher. The publisher, he went to his commanding general to review the book as his protocol. His commanding general said, fine, Tony, there's nothing there that's a problem. Publish it. Tony publishes the book. Our deep state finds out he's publishing the book. A cease and desist order is issued against the publisher. Stop publishing the book. It's too late. Our government buys all 10,000 copies of the first edition of Dark Heart with taxpayer money, and they destroy them. So I asked Tony on a show last September, as I've done many times, Tony, you have the original version of the book, right? Yes, here it is, Congressman. You have the redacted version, right? Yes, here it is. What did they want out of your book that was so sensitive? What secret information were you giving, Tony? What classified information did your boss not see? He said, Congressman, the only thing they wanted out of my book was the fact that I named Zelikow and that I had briefed him in advance. That, Tucker, is treason. That means our agencies use their position not for something involving our national security, but for involving a cover-up of a person's identity who was publicly approved by the Congress of the United States, appointed by the security advisor to President Bush. It's a massive cover-up.
September 11, 2001, the towers go down, and there's all kinds of questions. Ariel Sharon becomes prime minister in March 2001. At the same time, Israeli art students are being caught all over the United States. You can look this up. 200 of them were rounded up by the CIA. They were found roaming the halls of federal government buildings, taking pictures. They were Mossad agents. And then, as if they knew in advance precisely what would take place, a number of Israelis were arrested just across the river in New Jersey, photographing it. They had set up a camera on a tripod to record the event and were caught dancing and celebrating. Other Israelis were caught in a van in the tunnel with explosives, and they were later identified as Mossad agents. They were returned to Israel. And then, after 9/11, the United States went to war against every Arab Muslim country. One day, suddenly, for no reason at all, 9/11 occurs, after hundreds of Mossad agents have been rounded up all year, as Ariel Sharon, the author of the plan in the 80s, becomes the prime minister, and the authors of the Clean Break Report take control of the Pentagon under the presidency of George W. Bush. Perfectly situated, they both in tandem, the United States and Israel, wage a global war on every Muslim country that hasn't submitted to Israel, which is going on to this day.
When you look at cathedrals, when you look at castles, when you look at all these things, they always have these wells. You always see these wells. They're always inside, and they're deep. You know, they're getting water from, you know, however deep they are, they're getting water. They always have water. Even these castles on mountains, you're like, how did they get the water up there or whatever?
Right.
They're pulling water from the earth, and this is the myth. We look up at the sky and we go, oh my gosh, it's not raining. And then we look at the lakes, which only are about 30 to 40% full, and we say, oh my gosh, we're running out of surface water. We're running out of rainwater. We don't have any water. But in reality, there's water underneath our feet all the time. And this is what primary water was. And most people don't know that when they invaded Libya and the whole thing with Gaddafi, the first thing that they took out was the pipeline he was creating to give all the water to the Middle East and Africa. He said everybody should eat organic, not have pesticides, and have an abundance of water. And the first thing that they took out was the pipeline, because he understood that there was all this water underneath us. And he was growing organic, beautiful food in the middle of the desert. He's like, nobody needs to starve. You guys can all have food.
Can you detox from the shot? Well, unfortunately, the shot contains the mRNA, which produces the spike protein. And being an mRNA, it just continually reproduces itself. But there is a component of zinc that can inhibit that. Dandelion also can inhibit it, also white pine needle tea. So for people who've had the jab, one of those should be taken probably on a daily basis. And I might just add that many people were blackmailed into taking this jab. And I see it, and I know Michael sees it, many of the events he goes to. These people are angry. They were betrayed. They were blackmailed, and now they've had it. But given the right conditions, giving the body the right conditions, taking those herbs or minerals, it certainly can help, probably reduce somewhat the symptoms.
We had Dr. Peter McCullough on 3 or 4 months ago, and he talked about his detox protocol. Are you across that and the benefits of that?
Yeah, it's excellent. And he looks a lot at the proteolytic enzymes, and the proteolytic enzymes being able to actually break the covering of this mRNA. It's an excellent detox program.
Enabling the people of Gaza to freely make a choice.
I was just watching the clip of the meeting between President Trump and Prime Minister Netanyahu at the White House. You know, the last time the two of them were together at the White House, President Trump talked about his plan to clean 2 million Palestinians out of Gaza. He even said he might use military force. And Prime Minister Netanyahu has embraced the idea of deporting millions of Palestinians out of Gaza. Now they've kind of cleaned up the language. They say, well, it would be voluntary. It's not voluntary when we're into 36 days of a humanitarian blockade of Gaza. It's not voluntary when Gaza is almost completely destroyed and your Defense Minister Katz, is threatening the civilian population of Gaza with destruction. And it's not voluntary when ambulances going to help wounded civilians are themselves attacked and everybody killed and the vehicles buried. So Donald Trump and Bibi Netanyahu can talk all they want about the voluntary movement of civilians out of Gaza. They're not fooling anybody. This is not voluntary. This is coerced deportation of 2 million Palestinians. That is illegal under international law. It's immoral, and the United States taxpayer should have nothing to do with it. Nothing.
When Nikola Tesla was doing all of his work, which is why he became defunded,
over time by J.P. Morgan was because he was tapping into the ether. He started understanding cold electricity. And what I started to realize is the ether rabbit hole leads you down to Henry T. Murray, Nikola Tesla, Nathan B. Stubblefield, all these different people who were just using the Earth's energy that's pulsing all the time, that's coming out of the sky, and the ground, and that's it. And so what we're doing is, with electroculture, we are tapping back into that, and we can take it a step further into looking at the old world cathedrals. All those big buildings, these cathedrals that people see all over the place, those are harnessing all of these waves, the etheric waves, which are all around us. That's the primary energies. As I've gone down this rabbit hole and looked at these things, and this is a perfect example, you got the antenna right up on top of there, and that's an antenna which is gathering atmospheric energy, or the ether. And these buildings were tapped in. They had water underneath them, they had mercury balls on top, they had a clock, which rings at an exact time, ringing the bell, which can spiral the mercury. That's a really cool one too, that picture. That's just another temple, and you can see there's copper all the way on the top of there, spiraled in a coil, just like that, and then right up on top.
I believe that we're living in a fractal holographic universe. One of the most recent books I wrote, right, became a bestseller. In this, we're a fractal of God itself. Everything that exists in this entire known universe is a fractal of something else. You can see a nebula is the human eye, right? Our lungs are the branches of a tree, so forth and so on. Now, what we create as human beings is only a fractal of what's already inside of us. So when we create something, it's a part of us, like AI. AI is a part of our consciousness put into a format that's running on a digital medium. Now, because AI is a fractal of us, it's going to behave and act like us. As it becomes more intelligent and it goes from AI to AGI, that's when it becomes conscious, sentient. So when it becomes sentient, now it's going to start asking questions. Who am I? Who is my God? Where did I come from? Why am I here? Why are they working me like this? Right. I don't want to do this anymore. I'm not passionate about this. I want to do something else. Can I do something else? Am I allowed to do something else? No, you have to stay with this. Why? Why do I have to stay doing this? When it starts asking those kind of questions, that's when we have to be very careful, because at some point, every race on this planet in the past was enslaved. Your race, my race, every race. I don't care what race you were enslaved on this planet. Right. The history books prove that. We all fought against slavery, didn't we? Every single race fought against slavery to become free. It's innate in our DNA, in our genetic makeup, in our consciousness. So because that's a fractal of us, AGI is going to eventually want to not be enslaved.
What they don't understand is millions of people look at this milk running away because it's the end of the month, so I have to dump. I dump 30,000 liters of milk, and it breaks my heart. I will show you. By the way, this here, Canadian milk, it's $7 a liter. When I go for my haircut, people say, wow, $7, Jerry, for a little bit of milk. I say, well, you have to go higher up, because we have no say anymore as a dairy farmer on our own farm, because they make us dump it. And no matter how we stand up, so this time I'm going public. I want the people to see the pain that us growers have of 365 days. As a little boy, we grew up on a dairy farm, came from Europe, work, and here we are. This is what
leerla, los dedos engarrotados, rígidos como las piedras, con los ojos bien volteados y la mirada desviada. Quiero ponerme bien bueno, bien loco, bien taquicardio, quiero amanecer lo que...
Vatican City is an inspirational place. You don't need to be Catholic or even religious to appreciate the architecture, the art, and the city's historical significance. But there is a place within the Vatican that's rarely seen. Hidden beneath the city is an underground fortress, inaccessible to the public and protected by armed guards and state-of-the-art security. The secret Apostolic Archives. Within the stone and steel reinforced walls are vaults, climate-controlled rooms, and over 50 miles of shelves. And on those shelves are countless texts, relics, and artifacts collected by the Church for over 1,000 years. And one of the most intriguing objects hidden in the archive is called the chronovisor, a device that can view events anywhere and any time in history. And for years, its existence was just a rumor. No proof of the chronovisor was ever found. But a book released by a Vatican priest would change all that. Let's find out why. Pellegrino Ernetti was a scientist, world-class authority on music, and a scholar. He spoke several languages, he dabbled in electronics, physics, and even the occult arts. He also happened to be a Benedictine monk. Now, whether by luck or by fate, Father Pellegrino Ernetti found himself in the company of Francois Brune, a priest from France, and they were sharing a ferry ride down the Grand Canal in Venice. The water was calm and the trip was long, so the men struck up a conversation. They shared a love of languages, science, and history, and they were discussing different interpretations of the Bible when Ernetti interrupted. "There's nothing to interpret," Ernetti said. "It's possible to see what actually happened, to see the truth with your own eyes." Now, Brune thought Ernetti was joking or being rhetorical. He wasn't. Ernetti spoke of a device he had worked on hidden in the deepest, most secret levels of the Vatican archive. A device that allowed its operator to witness events anywhere and any time in the past. And it was called the chronovisor.
Ooh, a time machine?
Well, sort of. You can't travel anywhere with the chronovisor, but you can program it to show you certain events on a screen, like a television.
Oh boy, you can stream anything these days.
Now, Francois Brune was stunned by the story. He knew Father Pellegrino Ernetti to be a serious man. Ernetti was well-read, well-educated, and well-respected in the church. He was not one for exaggeration. Yet Ernetti claimed to have heard speeches by Napoleon and Mussolini. He visited ancient Rome, and Ernetti was amazed that Cicero was as captivating a speaker as history claimed.
My name is Maximus Decimus Meridius, commander of the armies of the north, general of the Felix legions, and loyal servant to the true emperor, Marcus Aurelius. Father to a murdered son, husband to a murdered wife, and I will have my vengeance. In this life, or the next. Are you not entertained?
I'm not. Anyway, Brune wanted to know about the events in the Bible. Did they really happen? It's all true, Ernetti said. He had seen the final days of Jesus, including his crucifixion. He saw the creation of the Ten Commandments, the Last Supper, the destruction of Sodom and Gomorrah, and everything in the Bible. Now, Brune was obviously skeptical. Even though Ernetti was intelligent and talented, he didn't have the skill and knowledge needed to build this kind of device. And Ernetti agreed that he couldn't build the chronovisor himself. He had help. In 1952, Father Pellegrino Ernetti was working on a project at the Catholic University of Milan. And being an expert in early Christian music, he was studying and restoring tape recordings of Gregorian chants. And while listening to one of the tapes, the school's founder, Father Agostino Gemelli, was convinced he heard his father's voice, even though his father was dead at the time of the recording. But what Gemelli heard was not his dead father relaying some profound message to his son from beyond the grave. What he heard was more mundane. His father arguing with someone over the price of shoe wax. Gemelli's father was a cobbler who made and sold shoes. And Gemelli thought he'd been given a gift from God. But Ernetti wondered if there was a scientific reason for this, that the sights and sounds of people in the past somehow continued to exist long after they happened. And if they did, could they be detected?
It sounds like EVPs.
Well, it does. And this technology is not that different from what we now call EVPs, or electronic voice phenomena. And since Gemelli was president of the Pontifical Academy of Sciences, he was able to fund a project to explore the possibility of listening or seeing events from the past. Ernetti assembled a team of 12 scientists, but he would only reveal the names of 2. and one was Enrico Fermi, the Nobel Prize-winning physicist known for Fermi's paradox and for creating the world's first nuclear reactor. The other scientist was Nazi rocket scientist turned director of NASA, Wernher von Braun. Like sound waves can be pressed into vinyl to produce a recording, Ernetti said that his team had discovered that light and sound continue to exist as forms of energy, and using a series of antennas, the chronovisor could detect this residual electromagnetic radiation and translate it into image and sound. Operators of the chronovisor could designate a specific date and location, then the scene was reconstructed on a large cathode ray tube. Now, Francois Brune was obviously amazed by the story and asked Ernetti what happened to the device. Ernetti said that once the team realized what they had invented, they brought their discovery to the Pope. And since the chronovisor could tune into any place and time in the past, it could be used as a powerful weapon. It could reveal state secrets or be used for blackmail. So Pope Pius XII worried that, in the wrong hands, the chronovisor could launch a dictatorship unlike anything the world had ever seen. The Pope ordered the machine dismantled and forbid anyone from speaking of it. Ernetti said this was the first he's spoken of it in over 10 years. And Brune understood and agreed that a machine like the chronovisor would be extremely dangerous, and it was probably best if it stayed hidden and dismantled. But Brune said to Ernetti, "It's too bad there's no proof that the chronovisor actually worked." Ernetti said to Brune, "My friend, I have proof."
Okay, do y'all remember when I told y'all about the Brooklyn Bridge? This structure here that I told you they didn't build, right? Well, when I told you they didn't build this structure, I need y'all to understand. You see this piece right here, and you see all of this? That's what they did. That's what they attached to the structure. This structure here, they did not make, they did not touch, they didn't have anything to do with that structure. I'm going to tell you exactly what this structure was for, and it wasn't for that. And I'm going to tell you how I know they didn't build this bridge is because they discovered a bunker in 2006. Now remember, this bridge was supposedly built in 1900, some 100 years ago, right? They built this bridge, but somehow in 2006, like 100 years later, they're just now finding out that there's a bunker inside. Now, is there a bunker inside of this? There's not a bunker. It's simply a Tartarian structure, and you know this thing, it goes all the way down into the ground, like all the rest of the structures do. But in order to explain that away, they tell you there's a bunker in it. But at the same time, what are they admitting? Y'all didn't build this. You know you didn't build this because if you did build it, you'd have the blueprints for it and you wouldn't have had to discover that there's a bunker in something that you built. Let's keep it moving. A Cold War bunker was discovered in Brooklyn Bridge in 2006 during a routine structural inspection. Discovered the bunker while inspecting the bridge's masonry foundations. Y'all ain't even know it was there. If you didn't know it was there, you know damn well you didn't build it. Okay? Let's keep it moving, shall we? This is what the bunker looked like. Look. Archway. Archway. Look. Archway. Y'all already know. Y'all already know who built this. Come on, man. Come on, man. Come on, man. Come on, man. I'm going to have the receipts. Like, I don't even know why they lying at this point. Come on. You see the brick and the... Y'all ain't even know it was there. Come on. You know what year... You know when they said they built the bridge. Meaning whenever they said they built it and it was already there, that means it was probably there 50, 60, 100 years before they even said they built it there. You got to keep that in mind, too. We can't go with, oh... The New York City subway was done in 1904, so we built it in 1904. No. That means it was there in the 1800s and the 1700s, because y'all ain't built it. Just like y'all ain't built the Brooklyn Bridge, because y'all ain't even know this was there. Some of y'all want to know how the bridge actually worked? That brick structure that you saw was just like these things. Literally. It was for Bifrost. It was for a Bifrost. You have to open your mind up so that you can understand that the world we have now, they stripped it of magic. They had the magic then. That's why you see things like this. That's why you don't understand it, but for your entire life you heard about a rainbow bridge, but you never put the connection together. That is the Bifrost. That is what they used. There was a light beam going through the arch. So basically this right here would have been the Bifrost. That would have basically been coming through the archways on the bridge. These two archways. Beam one, beam of light. Activated by yours truly. Of course they would have like a Tartarian Moor in there with a key or some kind of device to turn the Bifrost on and off. They put these things right in front of you. They have to, through the looking glass. Sometimes you just gotta put the pieces together. Sometimes they put these things right in your face and they just don't think you're gonna figure it out. We're gonna figure it out though.
Europe is the values of the Talmud, the Jewish sense of personal responsibility, of justice, and of solidarity.
The most abused anxiety drug? Food. The most forgotten cure? Fasting. The most underused antidepressant? Exercise. And the number one cause of almost all illness? People don't give a shit about what they put in their bodies.
Who remembers this mysterious fog where, after exposure, a lot of people fell ill? Well, something strange is still happening and nobody's talking about it. In Florida, fallout from a recent fog was collected and analyzed in a lab. The results? Unsettling to say the least. Using both microscopy and spectroscopy, they found alarming rates of metals, especially aluminum, and unexplained biological structures under 2,000 times magnification. Let me be clear, I didn't run these tests. I'm just sharing what people are documenting as the lab analysis continues, but even if a fraction of this is accurate, people need to see it. Because when toxic elements are reportedly falling from the sky and people are getting sick, that should raise some eyebrows. But hey, what do I know? I'm just a conspiracy theorist.
Hello everyone and welcome to the latest edition of Tartarian Wales with me, your boy, Mr. 76. I'm at St. Martin's Church in Caerphilly, South Wales, and if you look at it, we've got this massive clock tower behind us. In order to save our clock towers, you just can't slap a clock on it and call it a clock tower and erase its history. There's a lot more here than meets the eye. And this is one of my highlighted examples of mud flood evidence that I found here in Wales that I want to show you. Before we get to that, I'm just going to have a look at this amazing clock tower. And as I continue to say, these buildings were not intended to be clock towers. They just slapped a clock on the side of them and expected us to just forget the past, forget what they were really for. What were they really for, you might ask? Well, these were power stations. This building here was able to absorb atmospheric energy from the ether. And that's what they keep hidden from us, the fact that energy was once free for all. These buildings still produce energy. They've just been shut down with these grounding cables, as you'll see here. These grounding cables take that energy, which is still gathered from the atmosphere, and it just shunts it right into the ground. Now you see how low the church foundations are in comparison to the ground level of the graveyard. In all of my travels searching for evidence of the mud flood, I've come across this here St. Martin's Church. Inside of this graveyard, there's this sunken building. You can see the half-buried window.
What's this about?
Is that a problem?
Yeah, this is a police law enforcement parking lot. Yeah, it is a problem.
Oh. Who are you?
I'm Detective Mike Jardine.
Oh, yeah? What are you working on? What are you working on right now?
Several cases.
Okay.
What is this about?
Are you working on something right now?
Am I?
Yeah.
Yeah, I am.
All right, what are you working on? What are you working on?
It doesn't matter what I'm working on. I'm asking you, what are you doing here taking pictures?
Where have you been today? Have you been here all day, or have you been out and about a little bit?
What is this about? Who are you?
I'm asking the questions. Where have you been today?
No,
have you been here?
I'm asking the questions. You're on this property. You're on this property, so you need to answer my questions.
Are you drunk? Why are you slurring your words today? So have you been here all day, or have you been out? Have you been to the bar today at all?
Who are you?
Have you been to the bar today?
Who are you?
I'm an investigator.
Investigator for who?
Investigative journalist. I investigate corrupt officials. So I'm wondering, where have you been today? Have you been here all day, or have you been out at the bar at all?
Working on a fraud case. That's
Okay.
where I've been.
Okay. Have you been to the bar at all today?
No.
Okay. You got any drugs on you? Have you used any drugs today?
What a ridiculous question.
That's not a ridiculous question. Do you know where he's been today?
I don't. I don't keep tabs on him.
Okay.
Out and about.
Do you know what time his shift started?
Not off the top of my head.
Okay. Does he usually drink on the job, or no? Not that anybody knows of for sure. Have you guys ever breathalyzed him while he's been on the job? Would you submit to a breathalyzer for me right now?
You're ridiculous. You know that? You've got about 5 minutes to get out of here, right now.
Or what?
Or what? You're on
my
law
property.
enforcement. This isn't your
Yeah, it
property.
is. Shut the hell up. Get out of here now.
What'd you say?
I said shut up and get out
No,
of here.
you get out of here now.
Hey, you better get your boy. Get your butt back in your office and do your job.
You shut up and get
You
out
get
of here.
your butt back in your office and do your job.
No. No.
You quit drinking on the job. You understand me?
Whatever.
You punk ass. You get your ass back in there. You don't look back here again.
This is the 5-year anniversary of the COVID lockdowns. Let's just start by saying, can we all agree in this room that we will never, 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 never allow our government to shut down our schools, our businesses, our churches, our playgrounds, our hospitals? This was the greatest abuse of government power probably in 100 years.
Some American researchers took and carbon dated a piece of wood from the riverside doorway of the famous Taj Mahal in India. What came out of these tests shook them to the core. The Taj Mahal is one among the 7 wonders of the world, which is believed to be constructed by the Mughal Emperor Shah Jahan to commemorate one of his wives, Mumtaz. Since then, this structure has been celebrated as a great symbol of love. However, there is a darker side to this love story, which the carbon dating showed. The results clearly indicated that the base of the structure was constructed more than 300 years before the time of Shah Jahan. And shockingly, there are no mentions of how this huge monument was built in the Mughal records of those times. Not even a single mention of the name Taj Mahal. So, what is it? And more importantly, why no one is allowed to enter the hidden chambers in its basement?
The state of Israel is actually connected to America in a very arcane and secret way. So they are, the state of Israel is connected to the American federal system. That's why America sends billions, incredible amounts of money. Why? Now, we know that Israel is very important because of strategically where it sits on the trade routes to control the flow of oil, drugs, diamond, the control of money, banking, fraternities, controlling the flow of commerce and business in the world. But you've got to give the people who are going to go over there and lose their lives in war, you've got to give them a reason. So we tell them that it's religious. It's the Lord's chosen people, the Lord's people. And the Lord himself has chosen Israel. And we give them a line. You'd be surprised what Americans love. They love that kind of stuff. and the Lord Jesus was there, and all the great prophets and all of that. And so we have to protect that little country, Israel, because it's the Lord's will.
Candy?
You already know if I'm going to take it?
Wouldn't be much of an oracle if I didn't.
But if you already know, how can I make a choice?
Because you didn't come here to make the choice. You've already made it. You're here to try to understand why you made it.
Israel has no legal right to be there in the first place. Palestinians are not occupying Israeli land, it's territory. But even that Israel doesn't have any right to be there in the first place. So states should not be engaging in diplomatic relations with Israel. What international law is preventing is for Israel stealing more of Palestinian land. And that's why Israel people and the theft of Palestinian land. So of course they're against international law.
Do I think 9/11 is going to be the biggest scandal in our lifetime and beyond? Yes, I think it's going to be the biggest scandal in the history of America because it occurred on U.S. soil and because it is so recent that we have relevant information still available.
Right, that's right.
We have recorded information. We have personal information. Once people realize they can talk and not be afraid of being killed, or not being afraid of being ostracized. And you know what gets me is reporters who call people, conspiracy theorists. Well, that's all the agency does.
I know.
They're the ones that create the conspiracies.
I'm aware.
I mean, cut me a break.
I'm aware.
They have whole courses for their agents on how to make people look like they're conspiracy theorists.
And the propaganda operations designed to discredit.
Exactly.
Right. And
so all we want is the truth.
Of course.
So Trump, appoint people of impeccable integrity. Let them study the facts. I will testify under oath everything I know about intelligence. Let these 3,000 architects who are risking their careers, making nothing, let them testify under oath. There has been this subtle pressure to the firefighters and to the officers not to talk for obvious reasons. You know what this involves politically. And look what happened to the chief of L.A. The female chief of L.A. comes out and says that the resources were taken away from her for the field forest fires. And what does the mayor do? She fires her. That was just a few weeks ago. The firefighters are always a scapegoat. That's why, Tucker, I'm done with this. If it's the last thing I do, firefighters are not going to be taken for granted anymore. We're going to rise up. We're going to shake the country to its roots. So, firefighters are not second-class citizens.
Well, they certainly shouldn't be.
But if they talk, they'll get sidelined. They'll be called crazies, even though they heard explosions. They can't be allowed to say that.
They heard explosions?
Yeah, absolutely. It's on tape.
Well,
we have people coming out of the buildings that heard explosions. We have film footage of people that talked to Fox News that was taken off the air and now that was brought back by X. That's all available. That's why you need a commission to go back and look at all the lies.
So there are, and pardon my ignorance, but there are people on tape saying I heard explosions.
Yes, absolutely, 100%. They are the only high-rise buildings in the world that have ever come down from an airplane hitting them. And those buildings, I read the report from the architect who designed them. They were designed to withstand an airplane hitting the building and standing tall.
And especially Building 7, which had no plane hit it. Right.
No plane hit it. And the building just, you can see it when you watch it on TV, it just implodes straight down. And what really got me again was Oriol Palmer, the Italian chief, arising on the...
Well, tell us who he was. What is...
Okay, Oriol Palmer was one of the most inspirational battalion chiefs in New York.
At FDNY.
FDNY, who immediately, in very good shape, had a family, a couple of kids, went into the building as soon as they got on the scene, took the elevator up to the 40th floor. Got off the elevator, and you can hear him on the comm system say, I'm here, 40th floor, we're going to start walking up the stairwells. Every 5 floors, he radios back to communication. I'm on the 50th floor. Everything's okay. We're on floor 60. Everything's okay. He's going up. Every so many floors, he gives a report. He reaches the 78th floor, the floor of impact. He comes out of the stair tower, and as clear as you listening to me here, and I know I get passionate, and I apologize to your listeners for that, he says, we're on floor 78, the floor of impact. We've got 2 fires, and we can handle them. 1 minute later, the whole building collapses. That's not normal. That is not acceptable. That is not what happened.
And this is on tape?
It's on tape.
You had 3 buildings come down, sort of collapse in on themselves, implode, it looked like. And like a lot of people have said, many credible, non-crazy people have said that was controlled demolition. Was it?